exception being he would have preferred the entirety of the Second and First Corps to be there with the Third Corps, as opposed to most of the Second Corps and the Third Corps. But the fight.
Yes. I've made a great mistake here on this thing. I did not have this thing recording.
I thought it was.
I thought I'd hit recording too, and then I came out of this thing and it had stopped, but which that's fine because we was already doing good. Let's just I mean, we can take it from the beginning. I mean, we can do this again. Harrison received his orders, and this gives the other guys a chance to get there. So Harrison reported Longstreet on the 29th, correct? And I read what it was that what Lee had given to Stewart on the 23rd, and he had told him to meet Ewell and to link up.
Yes, he was supposed to screen Ewell's flank and cooperate with it.
Right. So he was in, but Lee, but I can't remember which day it was, but he had to fight a battle, and that delayed him further. If I recall correct. So
you mean Stewart has to fight a battle? Because Stewart fought at Chambersburg.
I'm sorry, what was that now?
Was it Chambersburg? Are you talking about Stewart? Because Stewart did fight a battle during the Gettysburg campaign. I want to say Chambersburg, but I could be. I know there was a fight. There was a fight at Chambersburg. There was a skirmish. I don't remember if it was. If it was, it was Stewart. No, that's a different one.
I'll have to go back and look exactly which one that was.
Because, right. I love it.
He was punched across at Westminster, but that was late in it. He got pushed forward out by the Michigan Cavalry, so they pushed him further east. There was the battle that was there. I'm trying to think of that.
Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts too. I'm looking it up now.
I know what it is. It was on the 23rd. They was talking about. I'm thinking of what Lee's orders were on the 23rd because I had it right there just before we was talking about it. Oh God, I've got my iPad right
now. Battle of Hanover. There we go. Thank God. That was driving me nuts.
Yes, Hanover, and that delayed Stewart further. So let's go back over there. I'm sorry that we had to go back over this again, but this was turning into too good of a conversation and educational that I didn't want to lose it. So when Lee did not trust scouts, we all know that.
Spies. Scouts. I was scouts. Didn't like spies.
Okay. Right. Yeah. I should have rephrased that better. He looked down on them.
Point of distinction, because remember, Lee was a scout in the Mexican War.
Right.
But he functionally was a scout in Mexico.
Right. But he was a military scout. I rephrased that wrong. He did not like spies. So what do you think that? I mean, because he brought him accurate information. Do you think that he looked down on him, or he did not trust him, or why was he not moving quicker?
I guess I just and I could just be having looked the information you've looked at. I don't think Lee lacked for speed. I think it just takes time to concentrate. Longstreet was significantly behind the army, but within the first day, he's able to get the entirety of the Third Corps and 2 of Second Corps 3 divisions on the field. That's pretty significant. I don't think he was
for Gordon to march 42 miles from Wrightsville. That was pretty impressive. I mean, you're moving it. I mean, you're humping it.
Yeah.
To get there that day. I mean, so when for him to get there now, so let's say so. I guess he did take Harris's word, and I remember what the last communication was. And I've made this argument so many times when they say that Lee was left blind, and I say no, Lee was not left blind. Lee had cavalry with him,
and also cavalry isn't what. Sorry, and just if I can just interject, I agree with you. He wasn't left blind. Cavalry's primary job is to find the broader movements of the army, and is to deflect enemy cavalry. So he also as scouts and spies. So no, he was not blind at all. And even if he was, materially his strategy wouldn't have changed. Anyway, so you're saying.
So what I wanted to point out, because it drives me crazy when people say Lee, they say that he was in left with it. He had inferior cavalry. No, he didn't. Okay, his cavalry was fine. Okay, because after day one, he sent scouts out after night behind enemy lines in unscouted territory to go look for Stuart. If they were capable to do that, they were very capable to scout ahead during the day to find out what was in front of him.
And bear in mind that once battle is joined, cavalry does not perform that kind of reconnaissance. Cavalry is reconnoitering operations. Tactical deployments, you leave that to individual scouts. Cavalry is rather difficult to hide. They're very easy.
Obviously, yes. I mean, cavalry is a bunch of horses running around there. So what I mean, and they say whether it's true or not, Lee was to draw the Union Army out, and so that they could be destroyed if that was part of it.
Yeah.
Where is Lee going to draw them out at? I mean, he's spread all over, northern Gettysburg. What I'm looking at is, and you can look at the maps, you can see where they're at. Lee could have been in very danger of being cut off from home.
Well, I mean, he has a pretty solid supply line to Williamsport. His line of communication is strong. The road to Williamsport, his army is effectively in front of, because what Lee understands is the key components of Dominion warfare. Always maintain direct contact with your line of retreat. And at no point, I think the Federals had the opportunity to cut him off from Williamsport. They're on the opposite side of him. So I don't think he's really in danger.
I don't think the Federals had any in there, but I hate to go back on historical novels, but I'm just thinking about the Killer Angels, where he tells him that we cannot survive long in this country, and we cannot be in danger of being cut off from home. I think Lee realized that once he got up there, he had a window of opportunity that he had to win this. He had to win quickly. Some type of battle. And that's why I wonder, you've got your army spread out so far. I don't know why. I guess what I'm saying is, I don't know why, looking at the maps, Lee did not see Gettysburg and say, I've got to immediately get there and seize this position. Then it would be my choice to go, because, let me say this, and then I'll let you interject your opinion. Meade has this great plan set up for
Pipe Creek. Oh, hello. Pipe Creek, Maryland is where Meade was heading. Got my dog here. Hello, Abraham. I know. Yeah, you're a goose. What are you eating?
They keep coming in the wrong room and cutting me off, and it's aggravating me. And I've sent them the invites to the right room, and they keep coming in this one. Okay, so what I was saying was, what was I saying? Because I wanted to about me and Lee and God, because I had a perfect.
So you were saying that you think that Lee would want to draw him out for a fight because he has to win a fight in Pennsylvania, and Meade's heading towards Pipe Creek.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's say that on the first day that he lands such a horrible fight or horrible blow that Meade falls back to Pipe Creek. Lee was not going to go attack Pipe Creek.
He might have. Honestly, he might have.
I mean, possibly. I would have to go look at the maps better. Well, I've seen the maps, but one thing I have seen on Pipes Creek, there are two roads that are coming right down on both flanks of the army.
Mm-hmm.
So you could put two corps on both sides of the flanks of the entire Union Army. Now, I don't know how all the terrain is on Pipe Creek. but Lee being an engineer and the way he scouted in the Mexican War, I just don't know if he would make that attack. Of course, I wasn't there. He could have very well made it.
It's impossible to say because it's ultimately a counterfactual. I could see him doing so only because Lee, I think at this point, was incredibly overconfident.
And I agree because I made that point to somebody else the other day that he thought his army was invincible. Well, why shouldn't he think that? I mean, the worst he's had is, well, besides when he's in West Virginia, is Antietam. I mean, look at every other. Why would he not think that he's fixing to go up there and land another huge, massive blow on a brand new commander? Of course he's going to be confident.
I mean, he's lost other scrapes for the record. Malvern Hill as well.
Yeah, he's lost.
He's
never been
successful.
He's never just take a total beating like he did at Gettysburg.
Well, not one where it also decisively cost him the campaign.
Yes, exactly.
So, in the way I see it, I think you have to remember that first off, he has to justify his operational goals to the cabinet to have permission to advance, right? Because while I think Lee controls a great deal of Confederate strategy and action, Davis still nominally controls it. Davis still has to approve of it. So he has to get the cabinets essentially they're okay. And Davis is much more cautious than Lee. Davis is not particularly in favor, at least initially, of trying to get a war-winning victory. This was the same issue that Johnston and Beauregard had with him in Maryland, especially Beauregard, that he preferred a more drawn-out war. So with Lee, and remember that Lee has a lot of goals in Pennsylvania. They're not exclusively, I'm going to defeat the Federal Army in detail. If Lee can go into Pennsylvania, shift the theater of operations to the north side of the Potomac, resupply his army, give Virginia an entire harvesting season free of the Metallianicas, while also forcing federal forces to redeploy. If you can do that without fighting a major battle, that would be fantastic logistically. And logistics are where the Confederates are falling apart. Right. If you can do that,
do you feel that we're talking about Davis and being cautious, that Lee was aggressive in nature, and Lee was aggressive that he knew, I've got to take the fight to them and defeat them because I've only got so many resources, and eventually I'm going to run out.
More or less. His biggest concern wasn't, I'm going to run out of resources. His biggest concern was if the Federals can concentrate, because if his biggest concern is running out of resources, it'd be wise to stop attacking. But his biggest concern is if the Federals are able to master their war machine and concentrate their forces on multiple pressure points, then we might not be able to defeat them. So I want to beat them now before they have the opportunity to do that. And if nothing else, every time I attack the Federals and force them off balance, it prevents them from coordinating their offenses. Which is why even though I think Lee wasn't deeply concerned about the West, he didn't see the West as potentially losing the war. I don't think it's fair to say he had a parochial view of the conflict in the West either. He understood that the United States couldn't concentrate all the forces that need to be prevented. And the other thing
I don't think he understood strategy as well as, I still say he was one of the greatest tacticians ever. I don't think he understood strategy the way he did tactics. I look at him as like an offensive coordinator as opposed to, I probably said that wrong. The strategy, like Grant understood the strategy of what he needed to do to win the war. I don't think Lee had a concept of a strategy in order to, win this war. Lee was, as long as I keep beating them and forcing them off. So the question that I had for you next was, so he wanted to draw them out and destroy them. Where was he going to destroy them at?
Really, wherever he could draw them out. So if you don't mind my redundant answer, Lee says something very interesting to Ross. I can't remember the fellow's last name, never can. Is an observer from the Prussian army. during the Gettysburg campaign. So kind of like what Fremantle was.
I did not know there was a observer from the Prussian army there.
Oh, yeah, there were tons of foreign observers. They loved that stuff. They would all talk in French because none of them knew each other's languages. French was the universal language, so you'd have a bunch of
Really?
French conversations. Yeah, and what he explained to Ross in French was essentially, as army commander, it is my purpose to place my army in a position where it will have the best advantage, the best numbers. I love the accent. I'm sorry, against the enemy. When battle is joined, it is up to my commanders and to God. So his thinking is, my job is to get my boys where I have the most men I can to smash them as hard as I can. If I can get a 2-to-1 advantage against them, fantastic. If I can get my men there first so we can select the battleground, perfect. And then once I get the battle plan, I sit back in my chair, my generals go. Right? So anywhere he's going to have the opportunity to toss his forces on the enemy first with superior numbers, will do. If it's Gettysburg, great. If it's Harrisburg, even better. If it's Chambersburg, why not? But Gettysburg has those beautiful roads that make it a natural concentration.
Because people, there's such a myth, and you hear in there that the the battle was over the high ground, and I said no, it's not. I said there's high ground everywhere. Lee had high ground. I said it was over the roads. I mean, that was what it came down to, was who controlled. Yeah, I mean, Seminary Ridge. I mean, Lee had a great position there.
At no point did Lincoln go, by God, we must protect Wolf's Hill in Pennsylvania. If we don't keep Adams County, sir, we lose the war. It's just a town.
And a myth I like quite two people say, Harrisburg. And I said, if Lee wanted Harrisburg, he could have had Harrisburg. He had a brigade entering Harrisburg that day that he had to turn around and bring back. I mean, so no, people are coming up with these myths here. It's kind of like, and I keep hearing stuff going back and forth about the shoes. I kind of begin now that Harry Heath used that as an excuse to take the blame off him because, about do not bring on a general engagement. He thought he was in militia. The next thing he knows, he's got an entire division of cavalry in there, and he's getting beaten. So he goes, we thought there were shoes there.
So here's the thing about the shoes, and this is why Heath is lying through his teeth. Do you know what? On the 26th of June, General Early had already visited Gettysburg. Yes. If there had been shoes, which there weren't, then his corps, or his division, would be wearing them. So the whole shoe thing, that's absolute hokum. Maybe Heath really believed it and no one mentioned to him, General, the most
they threw in there, though, was
we have has been here.
I think what he threw in there was that he found them in a cellar and they had overlooked them. But I think honestly, Heath was lying through his teeth because he got himself into a fight that he wasn't supposed to be into, and he was trying to save himself.
Yeah, and there's also no contemporary record of these shoes or a shoe store. There's lots of hilarious accounts of Confederates going absolutely hog wild raid. There's one story of a rebel coming out with like 6 hats topped one another. One of them comes out with a bunch of women's stockings, and when he's asked by his comrade why he has them, he shrugs his shoulders and says, "Why not?" One of them was wearing a few because they were comfy. Like they just did whatever. But there was nothing of any value in Gettysburg because Early already been through Gettysburg. But with Gettysburg, that was roads.
I love the way in the movie when Lee says, "General, this town is of no military significance whatsoever."
It's not. It's really not.
It's not. I mean, towns were not. I mean, that's what I discussed with somebody last night. I mean, it was about armies. In that time, I will say this right here. In Harry Heath's defense, when you get orders of avoid bringing on a general engagement, what does that really mean? If you get fired at, are you supposed to retreat? If you get hit at, are you supposed to dig in? I mean, if you're attacked by an entire division, are you supposed to what does that? That's a very vague order.
You'll summarize it all on the night of the first day. One of the things I defend is I feel quite bad for Ewell in this battle. Ewell asks Lee, should I take Fat Hill, Cemetery Hill? Which perhaps he should have. And Lee's response is, You may move. How does he put it again? You may take that position if practicable, but do not bring on a general engagement.
Take
And
that hill. Right. Take
you will
that
reach
hill.
that message.
What does that mean?
Yeah,
And
you
I
will.
would also like to point out
He
too.
goes further. He reads that message and he says, "Is there no one on Lee's staff that can write a goddamn military dispatch?" He was ticked off. This makes no sense. What do you want me to do with this? By tank or not? If there's a regiment up there, is that too much?
That makes no sense too. I would also like to point out too, and I do believe that it was Cemetery Ridge. From where Lee was looking at was about 2 miles away. There's 4 hills there. You've got Cemetery Ridge, Cemetery Hill, Culp's Hill. Which hill are you exactly wanting me to take, General? I mean, you've got 4 hills here. And
now that I may be wrong, but I do believe it was actually Ewell that reached out to Lee, because Lee doesn't care about the hills like that. That's something that at least then I take a lot of my cues from Gelzo, so I could be wrong about this. But
they could be very well right. I'm but going off, again, a historical novel where he says, deliver this message to General Ewell in person.
And it's actually sorry.
I was just saying, it's only necessary that we push these people to gain, the heights. Take that hill if practical.
And that's something that irritates me about the film, because that there's from what I understand, there's no contemporary evidence of him issuing that order. Because for him, it's simple. We've driven back the 2 corps, 1st and 11th. We've driven them back to Cemetery Ridge. Right now, we're waiting for the rest of the 2nd Corps to arrive. The 2nd Corps' attack was unsuccessful to drive, but nevertheless, they still ultimately drove back the not unsuccessful, but poorly initiated. Nevertheless, the 11th Corps is driven back, and the 1st Corps is driven back. So when General Longstreet arrives tomorrow, we will move up the hill. We will kill those people on the top. Then we will take that position, and the rest of the Federal Army will arrive piece by piece, and we will crush them one after the next until they begin to retreat. Then we pursue them. It's a good plan.
But I want to say one thing about Culp's Hill or Cemetery Hill, and we'll not there too. I get so tired of people blaming Ewell. Ewell performed greatly the first day. When they say that Jackson was taking that hill, Ewell was staring down the barrel of 17,000 men and 30 cannon. His force was not going to take that hill. And on top of that, he did not have Johnson's division. So his 18,000 men was not going to take that hill.
I wouldn't say that he performed greatly. I mean, 2nd Corps is still painfully disorganized. Robert E. Rhodes' deployment, Rhodes' deployment, his fighting is terrible the entire battle, frankly.
I think he
doesn't exercise good command and control. But I would say that the failure to take the hill is not something I would criticize Ewell for. I'd have other criticisms for him in that battle, but that is not one of them.
You'll make the right decision by not trying to attempt that hill. I see we have other guests. Guys, please jump in, and feel free to offer any comments that y'all have.
Yeah. What is the exact?
I'm sorry, what was that?
This is Tony. What is the exact topic tonight? Is it the same thing as the other day, or
no? Tonight, what we're talking about tonight was Harrison reported to Longstreet on the 29th and told of the position of the Army that they were on the move. Gave him, all the information. And my question is, why did Lee not move more rapidly to concentrate in a position? Chris is of the opinion that Lee did move at an appropriate speed.
This is tough. He actually moved
is that a fair question statement, Chris? Chris?
Oh, was someone calling me? I was getting beer.
What? Yeah, I said I was of the opinion that after he got his orders from Harrison, he did not move rapidly enough. You are the opinion that he did move quickly enough. Is that a fair statement, or I don't want to misquote you?
No, I think that's fair.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I think somebody else spoke up there and had something to say.
Chris, this is Tom.
Hey, Tom. How are you, buddy?
Hey, y'all doing all right?
Yeah, we're glad to have you. I've tried to get Larry.
We knew of the Potomac's Emory Potomac's crossing on the 25th or 26th. Stewart had told him about it, that he had seen the pontoons across the bridge. So he was aware the Army was on the move. What Harrison told him was that they were so close. He did not realize that. But he had actually, because of what he knew on the 28th, he told folks to start congregating around Cashtown. So there was a movement even before Harrison showed up. So I think Lee was trying to move. There was some mix-ups. I think Hill got a little confused on what he was supposed to do, but
like we were just talking about, I mean, you had Gordon at Wrightsville that's 42 miles away. I mean, you know, that's a long way from Gettysburg.
But remember, if I may, if I just jump in, because first off, I think I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the fellow who's speaking, but yes, I think you nailed it there. What I would add to that is, first off, Lee is aware of those movements, so he's going to have